Jack Grealish is back. Grealish looks reborn under David Moyes at Everton, playing with freedom and creativity, something he has lacked for a long time. But how has he transformed his career and already become a fan favourite at the New Hill Dickinson Stadium? Jack Grealish's career is one of the most celebrated modern stories in English football. Grealish joined Villa's academy at the age of 6 and progressed through the youth ranks with a reputation for flair, creativity and fearless dribbling. He made his senior debut in 2014 and quickly became a fan favourite, not only for his technical brilliance, but also for being a local lad embodying the club's identity. Over 7 senior seasons at Villa, Grealish made 213 appearances, scoring 32 goals and providing 43 assists across all competitions. He experienced both highs and lows, including Villa's relegation in 2016. In the Championship, he played 87 times, contributing 14 goals and 16 assists, and proved pivotal in the club's resurgence despite being sucker-punched by a fan, captaining them to victory in the 2019 playoff final against Derby County. Taking the captain's armband in March 2019, Grealish grew into a leader on and off the pitch, guiding Villa back to the top flight. In the Premier League, Grealish's influence only grew. Across his spells, he recorded 96 appearances with 15 goals and 17 assists. The 2020-21 campaign highlighted his peak influence, with 6 goals and 10 assists in just 26 matches, despite an injury that curtailed much of his season. His dazzling dribbling, vision and ability to draw fouls made him one of the most feared attacking midfielders in the league, while his connection to Villa Park gave fans a symbol of hope. His rise inevitably attracted elite clubs, and in August 2021, Manchester City activated his £100 million release clause, making him the most expensive British footballer at the time. Although his departure was bittersweet for Villa fans, Grealish's legacy as their academy prodigy, captain and talisman remains untouchable. When Jack Grealish signed for Manchester City in August 2021, it was a watershed moment in English football. The £100 million fee not only made him the most expensive British footballer in history, it also symbolised the growing financial gulf between City and most of their rivals. For Grealish, it was the culmination of years of progress at Aston Villa, where he had risen from academy prodigy to captain and talisman. He arrived at the Etihad Stadium draped in expectation, tasked with justifying a record price tag while wearing the iconic number 10 shirt previously worn by none other than Sergio Aguero, emphasises that City anticipated that his fearless dribbling, swagger and creativity would merge seamlessly with Pep Guardiola's intricate system to elevate the club to even greater heights. The reality of his debut season, however, was far less straightforward. While Grealish contributed to another Premier League title, his personal adaptation was a bumpy process. He admitted himself that Guardiola's tactical demands were much more difficult than anything he had experienced at Villa, where he had enjoyed almost total freedom to drift across the pitch and orchestrate play. At City, every run, pass and movement was dictated by Guardiola's structure. The scrutiny was intense, amplified by his price tag, with some pundits and fans quick to label him underwhelming. Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan both publicly defended him, reminding observers that Guardiola's complex system often requires a full season of learning before players reach their peak. It was in his second campaign, 2022-23, that Grealish truly arrived in Sky Blue. That season would ultimately be remembered as Manchester City's greatest, as they secured a historic treble, Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League, and Grealish did play a crucial role in their success. His statistics told part of the story. He created 35 chances in the Champions League, the most ever by an English player in a single campaign, and finished the year with vital contributions across all competitions. More telling, however, were the individual performances that defined his season. One of those came in April 2023 against Liverpool, a match that many saw as the moment he announced himself as a genuine Manchester City star. In a 4-1 victory at the Etihad, Grealish delivered arguably his most complete performance in a City shirt. He not only scored and assisted, but also pressed relentlessly, tracking back to thwart Mohamed Salah at a crucial moment before sprinting the length of the pitch to set up a goal. The Guardian described him as scintillating, while Guardiola himself hailed it as Grealish's best game since joining the club. The performance encapsulated the balance he had struck between artistry and discipline, still capable of dazzling touches, but now combining them with industry and tactical awareness. Another high point came a few weeks later in the Champions League semi-final second leg against Real Madrid. Facing the reigning European champions, Grealish tormented Dani Carvajal on the left flank, repeatedly stretching Madrid's defence and creating openings for City's attackers. The match finished 4-0, a demolition of one of Europe's great clubs, and Grealish's surging runs and composure in possession epitomised City's control. He may not have scored, but his fingerprints were all over the performance, and he left the pitch to rapturous applause. For supporters and critics alike, it was evidence that he could deliver at the highest level. The treble cemented Grealish's place in Manchester City's history, and for a moment it seemed he had silenced the doubters. But football is relentless, and the seasons that followed painted a more complicated picture. By 2024-25, Grealish's influence had waned dramatically. He made just 32 appearances with only 16 starts and managed a modest 8 goal contributions across all competitions. Guardiola increasingly favoured younger, more dynamic options such as Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku and Savinho, leaving Grealish to watch from the bench during key matches. He was omitted entirely from the squads for the Club World Cup and the FA Cup final, symbolic of how far he had slipped in the pecking order. Several factors contributed to this decline. Injuries repeatedly disrupted his rhythm, preventing him from stringing together consistent runs of form. The competition for attacking roles at City was fierce, and Guardiola appeared to prefer players who could provide vertical explosiveness or sharper end product in front of goal. There was also the matter of system compatibility. At Villa, Grealish thrived on improvisation, using his low centre of gravity to glide past defenders and dictate the tempo of matches. At City, however, Guardiola's positional play demanded precision and restraint. Grealish became known less for moments of chaos and creativity, and more for safe ball retention, drawing fouls, and recycling possession. While effective, this curtailed the very qualities that once made him irresistible to watch. Off the pitch, Grealish found himself under intense scrutiny. His lifestyle, charisma, and popularity made him a constant subject of media attention, and when his performances dipped, questions about his professionalism inevitably followed. Though his teammates and manager often defended him, the narrative around Grealish began to shift from record signing and treble hero to enigmatic figure struggling to justify his role. His omission from England's Euro 2024 squad underlined how far his stock had fallen, with the Times describing his trajectory as a steep decline in form and status. By the summer of 2025, speculation about his future was rife. Reports linked him with potential moves away from the Etihad, with Premier League rivals monitoring his situation, and Guardiola seemingly open to letting him leave. For many, it felt like a chapter was closing. While his time at City had brought unprecedented collective success, including the club's first Champions League trophy, it had also exposed the tension between individual expression and tactical conformity. Grealish had achieved greatness with City, but he had never been truly unleashed in the way fans and pundits expected when he first signed. In the end, Jack Grealish's Manchester City career is a tale of contrasts. On one hand, he will forever be part of the most successful team in English club history, a player who contributed to a treble and produced unforgettable performances against Liverpool and Real Madrid. On the other, his journey illustrates how even supremely talented players can be diminished by tactical systems that value control over creativity. His artistry was never extinguished, but it was often constrained, leaving the sense that City saw the best of his discipline, but never the full extent of his daring. Where Grealish's story goes next will define how this chapter is remembered. A third act, whether at City or elsewhere, could yet allow him to rediscover the freedom that once made him the heartbeat of Aston Villa. For now, his legacy at Manchester City stands as both triumphant and bittersweet. A treble winner, yes, but also a reminder that even at football's summit, brilliance can be shaped and sometimes restricted by the system that surrounds it. When Jack Grealish left Manchester City for Everton on loan in August 2025, eyebrows were raised across the Premier League. Just 4 years earlier, he had been the £100 million man, England's most expensive footballer, and a treble winner under Pep Guardiola. But after 2 difficult seasons of limited minutes and curtailed influence at City, Grealish needed a reset. Everton, newly settled into life at their gleaming Hill Dickinson Stadium, offered the perfect stage. The deal included a £50 million option to buy, a signal of both commitment and opportunity. For Grealish, it was less about escaping City and more about rediscovering the freedom and creativity that had once made him one of the most exhilarating players in English football. His Everton debut, off the bench against Leeds, offered little more than a glimpse. Introduced in the 71st minute, he had little chance to impact a game Everton lost 2-0. Yet within a week, the transformation was undeniable. Starting against Brighton in Everton's first home Premier League match at Hill Dickinson, Grealish stole the show. He produced 2 assists in a commanding 2-0 victory. First a whipped Croston DI, then a perfectly weighted pass that set up James Garner for a thunderous strike. Beyond the assists, his involvement was constant. 24 passes in the final third, 7 recoveries, 3 chances created and 6 duels won. It was not just an efficient display, but a performance dripping with confidence and purpose, crowned with the Man of the Match award. The momentum carried seamlessly into his second start, away at Wolves. Again, Grealish was the orchestrator, becoming the first Everton player to record 2 assists in back-to-back Premier League matches. His first came from a classic wide position, holding his run before delivering a pinpoint ball for Beto to power home. Later, he slid through an intelligent pass to Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who opened his Everton account with a calm finish. He also played a decisive role in the build-up to Niai's strike, his composure under pressure creating the opening. By the end of his first 3 Everton appearances, Grealish had already notched 4 assists in 2 Premier League starts, a blistering start that eclipsed his total output in his final 2 seasons at City. The numbers were one thing, but what captured the imagination was the manner of his play. Freed from the rigid positional demands of Guardiola's City, Grealish roamed with instinctive freedom. He cut inside from the left, swapped positions fluidly with Dewsbury-Hall, and drifted centrally to combine with Ndiaye. His dribbling, so often neutered in Manchester, was back on display, drawing defenders out of position and opening lanes for teammates. Everton suddenly looked sharper, braver and more inventive. Manager David Moyes, never known for effusive praise, admitted he had underestimated the scale of Grealish's impact. "The best compliment I can give him is that he is even better than I thought," Moyes told reporters, adding that what impressed him most was Grealish's mentality, his hunger to prove himself again. Moyes looks to have found the perfect canvas for Grealish's artistry. A central feature of his resurgence has been his chemistry with new teammates. With Ndiaye, Grealish has quickly developed a natural synergy. Their 1-2s and angled runs stretch opposition defences, while Ndiaye movement into pockets gives Grealish options for threaded passes. With Dewsbury-Hall, the relationship is more measured, 2 left-sided midfielders with vision and technical polish linking through neat exchanges and overlaps. The Brighton and Wolves matches both showcased how quickly the trio have gelled, hinting at a creative hub that could transform Everton's attacking identity. Tactically, Moyes has been astute. Deploying Grealish slightly higher and with fewer defensive shackles, he has created a platform for his new signing to thrive. At City, Grealish was often asked to recycle possession, holding width and discipline. At Everton, he is encouraged to drift, to drive and to disrupt, exactly the qualities that made him so devastating at Aston Villa. In Moyes' system, he is not simply a cog but the fulcrum, and the results have been immediate. For Everton, the implications are enormous. A player of Grealish's calibre, playing with freedom and joy, elevates the entire squad. His presence has already sharpened Ndiaye's finishing and boosted Dewsbury-Hall's confidence, while even forwards like Beto benefit from the precision of his deliveries. For supporters, his early performances have not just been about assists or goals, they have restored excitement and belief, something that had waned in previous campaigns. For Grealish himself, the move feels like more than a loan. It feels like a rebirth. The first few weeks at Everton have reignited the conversation about what he can still achieve in his career. After enduring the scrutiny of City's tactical straitjacket, here he looks liberated, smiling, daring and decisive. His swagger is back, not as showmanship but as effectiveness. As Moyes put it, there's something just on the edge of him at the moment. Creativeness, goals, assists. He's got the hunger. This underlines why Everton's option to buy could quickly shift from possibility to inevitability. For a club eager to establish themselves at the new stadium with ambition beyond survival, securing Grealish long-term could be a statement of intent. Grealish has shown that he remains one of England's most talented playmakers when given the freedom to be himself.